Hey guys, my name is Sadie and welcome back to my channel, or if it's your first time here, welcome. I'm so glad you're watching this video. So if you may or may not be able to tell by the surroundings around me, I moved. That's kind of why I've been MIA for a couple of weeks here, but I'm so happy to finally have the time again to sit down here and make another video for you all. And today I am going to be talking about some of my current makeup favorites. If you have moved before, which I'm sure many of you have, then you know the process is crazy, it's stressful, you don't know where any of your stuff is, and if you have kind of a larger makeup collection like I do, then all of that stuff gets jumbled up too. During the process of moving and getting everything in the new place settled, I was really just reaching for the same makeup products for a couple of weeks coming out of just one makeup bag, and I'm going to share with you those makeup favorites today. When I didn't really know where any of my stuff was, it was really great to have this one bag of essentials, go-tos, and favorites that I knew I could rely on and didn't have to stress about. And even now, as we're settled in this new place, these still continue to be the products I find myself reaching for almost every day. So without further ado, here are some of my current makeup favorites. Okay, so I'm going to be talking about these products pretty much in the order that I would be using them, so I'm going to start out with foundation. I have one new updated foundation favorite, and it is this one right here. This is the Anastasia Luminous Foundation. My foundation favorite that I mentioned in my 2020 makeup favorites was the ColourPop Pretty Fresh Hydrating Foundation, and this actually very much reminds me of this foundation. The biggest difference that I noticed between those two foundations is this one is definitely a step up in coverage. I would say that the ColourPop one is definitely a medium coverage foundation, but this is somewhere from medium to full coverage. The name Luminous Foundation definitely describes it well. When it comes to foundation as a more dry skinned person, I definitely tend towards things that are more on the dewy, luminous side rather than things that are matte, and I feel like that is more towards the trend of what a lot of people are looking for these days. I know that this is not at all a new foundation, and it took me a long time to actually try it. When it comes to foundations, they're expensive, and I don't always find myself wanting to buy an expensive foundation because it's one of those products that you kind of run through pretty quickly. So I put off buying this for a really long time, but I'm so glad that I finally picked it up because this has definitely become maybe my favorite foundation of all time that I have tried. It gives me a very similar finish to my favorite ColourPop foundation, but is definitely just that step up in coverage, which I really appreciate, especially around this time where the maskne is running crazy, so I have a couple more spots that I need to cover up, especially around the chin area. Something that is also different and better than the ColourPop foundation is this one definitely lasts longer throughout the day. This just gives a beautiful luminous coverage as the name suggests, and to me just gives me the perfect amount of coverage that I am looking for. I don't find that I have to go in with concealer on spots when I go in with this foundation. It is enough to cover up those spots to my liking, and also the shade match for me is really great, and they have a lot of options of a shade range in this foundation. If you haven't tried it, I definitely recommend it, but I'm sure it's not new, so many of you have already tried it. I love it, and I'm so happy I did. Okay, moving on to a concealer favorite. I know I've mentioned in the past I'm not always one who likes to go with concealer under my eyes, but I have been following that trend of just concealing more on the inner and the outer corner of the eye rather than in a V or triangle shape completely under the eye, and I've been enjoying the look I've been getting from that. And the concealer that I have been loving to go in with is the ColourPop Pretty Fresh Hydrating Concealer. Yes, this is the same line as the foundation that I was just mentioning. This concealer I both love for covering up spots around the face if I'm not going with a full face of foundation, and also, like I mentioned, for highlighting the inner and the outer corner if I'm concealing under my eyes. One concealer favorite I mentioned in the past before is the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer, and I talk about how much I love how that one performs in places that may have more lines or dry spots, and I think this has a very similar, if not better, performance when it comes to those kinds of spots on my face. It does not at all cling to any dry patches. When I use it under my eyes, it does not sink into any of the lines under my eyes. Alright, excuse any sweat drops you may see falling down my face. But yeah, this gives a pretty decent amount of coverage. I wouldn't say it is the fullest coverage concealer, but it is somewhere from a medium to a full coverage concealer. It's still definitely great for spot concealing if you're not going in with a full face of foundation. And I've actually loved to really use this with my Fenty powder foundation. I don't really like to use that foundation for too much, but if it is a day where I'm just spot concealing, I like to finish my face with that powder also on top of this concealer. Other concealers I've tried in the past, I feel like I always had issues with settling under my eye, and that's why I wouldn't really want to reach for them, but that is not at all an issue I face with this concealer, and I really love it. Another product from the Pretty Fresh line that I love as well. They also have a tinted moisturizer that I've never used before, but I'm curious to try, and I'm sure could be really great in the summer months as something just super lightweight, but can also be doubled up with this concealer too. Alright, so usually in my makeup routine, I would usually go from doing my foundation and concealer to doing my eyeshadow, but I have a couple of blush products I wanted to talk about, so I'm going to mention those right now. The first one I want to mention is a cream blush. If you know me, then you know I am definitely a fan of cream blush. It is probably my favorite formula of blushes, and my favorites that I want to mention are the e.l.f. putty blushes. I have two colors right here. I was looking for names on them, but I don't think there are names on them. I mentioned in my anti-haul video when I was talking about the NARS cream blushes that actually have very similar packaging to these, that I would much rather try these blushes over the NARS ones, which are like $30. These, I believe, retail for $6, and I absolutely love them. I have tried a lot of cream blushes, and this is definitely in probably my top 3 of all of the formulas that I have in my collection. These two colors that I have right here, I can't exactly remember their names, but even this darkest shade that I have, which looks pretty dark in the container, once you blend it out on your cheeks, it is actually super blendable and is not too pigmented that is overpowering at all. When it comes to cream blushes, I've definitely mentioned in the past that I prefer a more buildable formula because it's a lot easier to not go overboard. The formula of these blushes actually very much remind me of the Rare Beauty melting cream blushes. It has that more of a thin consistency in your fingers and therefore it makes it more buildable, but it still has a great color payoff. I feel like some cream blushes I've tried are just so balmy and they look almost like as if you like put a lip balm on your skin. This is not at all like that. It's the perfect mix of having the right amount of pigmentation but not being too pigmented that you could go overboard easily. I'm super glad that I tried these and they are just so affordable. I don't think anybody would regret trying these and picking these up. I just wish they don't have very many colors in the line, so I hope that that's something that they do in the future is expand this line into even more colors. And I would say when you're shopping these, don't be afraid of the darker colors. Even the darker colors blend out to a really beautiful color on the skin. I've heard even people with fair skin still really like the darker colors as well. Super beautiful cream blushes, and as we're transitioning into the warmer months, I feel like cream blushes are even more perfect on a face that may not have foundation on it. And I feel like this is true for a lot of cream blushes I have, but the amount of product is in here versus the amount of product that you would use every time that you are going into it, these would last you forever. So I'm excited to keep on using them, especially as we are transitioning into the warmer months. These will just be perfect for that. I have another cream blush favorite I want to mention, and it is this one by Milani. This is the Milani Cheek Kiss cream blush, and I have mine in the color Coral Crush. This again is another cream blush formula that I love. This has more of a creamy texture to me than the putty blushes. The putty blushes are more like the putty. If you've tried their putty primer, it's kind of similar to that kind of formula. This is definitely more on the creamy side. That being said, it is less pigmented, I find, than the e.l.f. blush, so I'm not too worried about building up too much on my finger or my cheeks. It still blends out super beautifully, and it is even less pigmented than the e.l.f. blush, so it's even harder to go overboard. I just absolutely love this coral color too, and something I've noticed about this as well is it has really great staying power even on days where I'm not wearing foundation on my cheeks. I find that this is still there at the end of the day. Milani, I feel like, is one of those fairly underrated drugstore brands, and I have to admit I don't have a lot of favorites from the brand, but of course, me being a cream blush lover, when I saw that they came out with this blush, I knew I had to try try it, and I was definitely not at all disappointed. I feel like of all of the types of products I've tried from Milani, I've definitely tended more towards their blushes. Those mineralized looking blushes were so popular at some point, and I feel like the trend is more towards cream blush now. Milani definitely jumped on that trend, and I feel like did it really well too. Okay, I have two Rare Beauty favorites I want to mention. The first one is their, I believe it's the Stay Vulnerable liquid eyeshadow. I have never really been much of a liquid eyeshadow person in the past, mostly because I feel like they're super expensive for what they are, and you would never really get through a whole liquid eyeshadow ever. But one of my favorite YouTubers, Hannah from Smoky Glow, mentioned how much she really loved this product, and when I tried these, I was so not disappointed. They have the same colors in these blushes as they do these liquid eyeshadows. On Sephora's website, they have these really beautiful pictures of all of these models with these monochromatic looks. I had the blushes for a while, so I was super interested in picking up the liquid eyeshadow, and I was not disappointed. While it does look completely matte in the tube, once you are blending it out on your eyes, you realize that it's not really completely matte when you're blending it in. It has just the very slightest amount of shimmer on it, but that doesn't really translate on your eyes. It definitely has a more matte color when it finally dries down. This is just super easy for swiping on for that one shadow look. Swiping on both into your eyelid and a little into the crease can give you enough definition, and I love the way it looks. It's just so simple to swipe it on and pat it in. I just pat it in using my fingers. The color I have it in is Nearly Apricot, and I am so curious to try all of the colors from this line. I think they all look beautiful, but again, like I mentioned, liquid eyeshadow was something that it would really take you a long time to use up. So do I really need another color? Probably not. And another thing about these shades too is while there are other colors, they are pretty similar to each other, and when it comes to being on the eyes, they would probably all translate pretty similarly. I haven't used this as an eyeshadow base, so I would be curious to see how it would function in that sense as well, but if I'm looking for a quick go-to, trying to get out the door or just trying to hop into the next meeting kind of look, this is so a go-to product for me. So glad that I picked it up on Hannah's recommendation, and I just may have to buy at least one more color of it. I have to mention also, when Selena Gomez announced that she was coming out with a makeup line, I was really wary and thought it was just, you know, another celebrity coming out with another makeup line, but almost every product that I've tried from Rare Beauty I have super loved, and this also doesn't disappoint. And even if you do have more melanin in your skin, I would say don't be afraid of these lighter colors. I was afraid that this may look chalky on my eyes, but it really doesn't at all. Once it dries down, it's like you went in with a matte eyeshadow in the end. It just makes the process a lot faster and super simple. No brushes required, just dot it or swipe it on, blend it in with your fingers, and you are good to go. Okay, and the next Rare Beauty favorite I have to mention is this product right here. This is the Perfect Strokes Matte Liquid Liner. This is a brush tip liquid eyeliner pen. If you have seen any of my makeup favorites in the past or my product empties video, I am always running through my favorite eyeliner, my Physicians Formula Eye Booster, specifically in the waterproof version. I love that eyeliner so much, and I am so skeptical of trying new liquid eyeliners because I'm an eyeliner fan, and so many that I have tried just do not compare to the Physicians Formula one, but I actually really love this Rare Beauty liner, and I was kind of surprised by that. It is a brush tip pen rather than a felt tip pen, which is definitely the format that I prefer. I feel like having a brush tip makes drawing on the wing even easier. Something that is a clear difference that I noticed when using this product is that the brush tip itself is a lot longer than the Physicians Formula one, which I really enjoy. I feel like that makes drawing on the line on your eyelid and also a wing even easier, just because you can lay it down and draw it on, and the brush is so long itself that it just covers a lot of area. I have pretty watery eyes and I have a lot of issues with eyeliners running, but that is not an issue I've faced with this one. It is not the most matte eyeliner to me. To me, it still has somewhat of a gloss when it dries down, but I don't mind that whatsoever. As someone who has tried a lot of liquid eyeliner pens and has a lot of opinions on them, I was pleasantly surprised by this. There's just also something about the packaging and the way it feels in the hand that I really love as well. It has more of a matte finish on the packaging, and I just love Rare Beauty packaging overall. It feels super great in the hand to use. I love the longer brush tip on it. It makes it even easier to use. It lasts all day, even on my watery eyes. I really love it. Okay, speaking of favorites that I constantly rebuy, when it comes to mascara favorites, I love the L'Oreal Lash Paradise in the waterproof version, and I almost always exclusively use that mascara, but I decided to branch out and I actually found one that I really love, and it is this one by NYX. It is the NYX Worth the Hype waterproof mascara. Again, with someone who has eyelashes that just point like this, I'm always someone that has to go in with waterproof mascara. And this one by NYX I totally love. The brush on this actually really reminds me of the Lash Paradise brush. It has a thicker brush for sure. It has more hairs. It's not like one of those plastic brushes that has really short nubs on it. This has definitely a really thick brush to it, which I really love for building up that volume. As someone who struggles with their eyelashes, I feel like building up volume is more important to me than building up length, and to me I feel like this gives you the best of both worlds. It's really great at doing both. I do feel like I need to go in with 2 layers of this mascara to really get the effect from it that I want. But yeah, this definitely competes with my Lash Paradise. It also does a great job of holding that curl, which is so important for me. Do I think it's worth the hype? I do. Okay, my battery just died right before the last product I want to mention, so here it is. The last favorite I have is the NYX Eyebrow Glue. I actually picked this up on recommendation from a random TikTok that I saw. Also, I was really in the market for an eyebrow glue that would actually keep my eyebrow hairs in place. Just like my eyelashes don't like to hold a curl, my eyebrow hairs also like to be really wonky and don't like to stay in place either, so I was looking for something that really had a strong hold. There is that fairly new Anastasia product as well, that eyebrow gel that comes in a pot. I can't remember what it's called now, that I'm also interested in trying, but I wasn't ready to shell out over $20 for it. So I decided to purchase this one after seeing the recommendation on TikTok, and I really do love it. I feel like it really holds my brows in place. The only complaint I do have about it is that the product can be a little stringy, so just making sure that you clear off the brush a little bit before you go into your eyebrows is really important. The brush is pretty tiny, but it's not too tiny that I feel like I have to keep brushing my hairs in order to really get them all in place. It really does keep your brow hairs in place, which is what I was looking for. I don't face the issues of my brow hairs going rogue. I really love this product, and I believe it retails for around $8, so a lot more affordable than the Anastasia option, even though I still am really curious to try that one. If you have tried that product or have any more eyebrow products that you really love that help keep your brow hairs in place, please let me know. I would love to hear about it because that is a problem I find myself constantly facing, but this definitely fixes it and I'm happy with it. Okay, and that completes some of my current makeup favorites. I thought this was just gonna be a quick video that I was running through everything, but of course I feel like I always have a lot of stuff to say, especially if it's about things that I really love. Thank you so much for watching this video. Leave a like or a comment down below if you feel so inclined. If you haven't already, hit subscribe to stick around. I would so appreciate if you did, and until the next video, I will see you all then. Bye!